What's up, guys, and welcome back for another EVE Online video. Now, in this one, we're going to be covering a very, very popular topic that I see kind of floating around, and that's how fast can you earn ISK while mining. Now, there's three things that you really need to be considering when you start to think about this solution, as it were. Time, what you're mining, and what your ISK goal is. Now, obviously, as you get higher in your mining skills, your yield gets better. But ultimately, whether you want to pay for Omega or you want to pay for a mining barge expert system or whatever your ISK goal is, the amount of time that you mine and what you mine make a big difference. Now, to put this in perspective, I've actually put together a spreadsheet that I'm going to go over with you today, which will hopefully start to illustrate the big picture idea and everything. Now, we're going to use several examples in this video, and first off, we're going to start off with the yield of an alpha tune. Now, this alpha is 6 million skill points. It's pretty much as good as it's going to get. So when you're using this spreadsheet, or if you build something like this for yourself, you need to kind of figure out what your total yield is. Now, that could be your mining heads plus your drones or whatever. So you kind of have to combine all that stuff. But I've kind of built a spreadsheet to facilitate the mining heads, the mining ships. If you want to do drones, we kind of have to do a little bit more work with that. So with that being said, we're going to look at our miner 2 right here, and we are going to be taking the ISK, or cubic meter per second number, which is 3.1 cubic meters per second. Now, let's go over to this spreadsheet that I've put together here, and to kind of walk you through this a little bit. This uses ESI, and we are pulling wallet information here. We have the current market value of Plex, just to kind of have that in there in case you're looking at getting a certain number of Plex or whatever. And then we have an ISK goal right here. Now, up here we have fields that we can fill out for time in hours. This will be total yield based on the number of mining heads. You don't have to do anything with this. But we're in a venture, so we want to make sure we have 2 mining heads on there. And our yield per head is 3.1. So we'll get that. ESI will pull all the information there. So as you can see, our combined total yield per second is going to be 6.2. Now, in this list here, you can see that we have pretty much every single moon ore and all the standard ores and ice. Now, we don't have variants in here because I just didn't want to really make a really long list. So we have just the normal, like I guess you could call it tier 1 variants of everything in here. So we have the ore name. We have the ore type ID, which is important. That's so we can pull things like volume and things like that. And then the ore volume. This is volume per unit. And then we have units per second. Now, this is going to be based on the volume and also your cubic meters up here. So all that's tied into that. And then we have the compressed ore name, which we're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to be grabbing the compressed ore type ID. And since compression is 1-to-1, the idea behind this and how we're getting this value is we're going to mine this ore, but we're always going to be selling the compressed version of it to get this. This will be our compressed value over time. So if we put in 24 hours up here, that's going to change this value up here because it's going to take those total number of units that we got in 24 hours and grab the compressed value based off type ID. And then over here we have this little days to goal over here, and our goal would be set right here. So it sets us back to an hour. We're going to give a little bit more of a realistic situation here. Let's go and sort this list by name, A to Z. So our good old Arknor is at the top. We're gonna put in like let's say an Omega goal for this alpha. So we have a maxed venture here. So real quick, we're just gonna go equals, and then we're gonna take this Plex value and we're gonna multiply it by 500, and that gives us an ISK goal. Now, if we look through this list, we can start to see how these days really add up. Now, we're actually going to sort this days to goal to smallest to largest. And we scroll, actually, we'll do it the other way so we can see the high sec ores in here. Some of these ores don't actually have market orders in JITA, so that's why they have 0ISK down here, like some of these moon ores here. But it looks like a Veldspar right here. So you know, in an hour we're gonna do about 223,000 units here. In an hour with a venture with that kind of yield, you're looking at about 2.4 million, and that's gonna take you about 1,200 days to get Omega with that. In order to make that number better, we're alpha, we can't really make our mining any better, but if we can bring it up to like 5 hours a day, we can see how that kind of starts to change. It drops from like 1,200 to like 243. Now let's go like just crazy max, right? Let's say, you know, for science, 24 hours. You're mining Veldspar 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. What are you looking at for Veldspar? You're still going to be doing 50 days to get to Omega. I have a conditional statement on this column as well too. So anything that's less than 60 days or 30 days will show up in green. So pretty much anything down here you can mine with the yield here. But let's go more of a realistic mining number. Let's go like 5 hours. And let's kind of sort this down to smallest to largest so we can kind of see. Now, some of the stuff an alpha cannot mine, like ice and mercoxit and stuff like that. So you need kind of, if you're looking at this through the you know, lens of a alpha, mercoxit is not going to be able to do it for you. But if you're looking at 5 hours a day with 6.2 total yield, things like dark ochre, you do it in 29 days. Talassonite, you can do it in 29 days. Pretty much like all of these Poshman ores are going to be good to go. Like Spudmain, just camp Spudmain 24 days on that, and then some of the bigger moon ores and stuff. But you can see as you start moving down the list to like Rakavine, Nice, Crystallos, or even Crokite here, you're kind of going over that 30-day mark. But here's the thing: if you're like trying to get Omega for the first time, chances are once you get Omega, you're going to be coming off of that venture. You're going to have much higher yield than 3.1. So during that 30 days, you're going to be doing a lot better. So let's illustrate that. Let's say, you know, for this portion, 5 hours a day, and we'll try to keep that through even throughout the what I call like the Omega maintenance time. But let's say while you're in alpha, you're doing 5 hours a day with, you know, 6.2 total yield. And you went out and just did Spudmain for 24 days, or even like, you know, you did like Crystallos or Crokite, even Bistot. Like, let's say you just went crazy and did 2 months of just crazy Bistot mining, 68 days, and you got there, right? What can you expect to do better in that 30-day Omega window to, you know, kind of, you know, maintain that Omega? So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get off of this alpha here, and we're actually going to go to another alt here. We're going to just go to one of my guys that's not max trained, but it's going to give us a good idea of kind of what we can expect to do in like the mining barge kind of realm. So we're going to go in here. We're actually going to go to the fits here. We'll get to exhumers, and you'll start seeing it gets a lot better when you start getting up to the exhumer level. But if you're fresh going to Omega, then you're not going to immediately be able to get into an exhumer. You might not even immediately be able to get into a mining barge. That's why I usually try to over farm as an alpha. So I have like, I'm usually using like the mining barge expert system while I'm an alpha. So when I do kind of get that Omega for the first month, I just already had that procure in play and stuff. So we're going to go to this just regular procure fit right here. This is good shot regular strip miners on it. It doesn't have max yield, but let's go ahead and throw max yield on it just for the sake of this video, right? And get as much as we can. So we're looking at 6.2 per harvester on that. So that tells me right now that we're going to 2x. We're going to 2x what we were doing with the venture right away. And our, you know, ISK hasn't changed at all. What's nice about the spreadsheet is it'll actually, I can update this every day. It'll update the wallet. And so these numbers will be kind of like a representation of like 2-day plus these days to get to the goal, essentially. But now we're in a procure. We're still doing 5 hours a day, but it's opened up a lot more stuff to do within 30 days to kind of maintain that Omega. So a lot of low sec ore. And still, you know, those really big, you know, Poshman stuff and everything. But even like down here where Where's BISDOT at? So BISDOT before, when we were, alpha, getting that initial kind of an omega, we were at 68 days. Now we're at 34. So you do like product discovery, do absolutely anything else in addition to mining, and you really don't have to change your situation too much. But with that, let's go ahead and look at let's go back up into the retriever here. Let's go and look at the retriever. 6.8 on each, not much better, very marginal. So 6.8 on that. And I'm going to be kind of starting using BISDOT as kind of like the means here, because we kind of been looking at it since we were at the alpha stage and everything. This didn't add too much going from like the procurer to the retriever, but if we go back and look at BISDOT now, 31 days, we kind of knocked off 3 days. That's why I don't really recommend the retriever too much, because the procurer has so much tank. It's a little bit quicker to go off grid. It's not going to save you too much and all that. But then if you start going to like the coveter, this is where things start to like get really interesting. We're going to drop those off. Let's go ahead and put the strip ones back on. And if you start using crystals, that's even better. You can even get better yields on that stuff. 8.3 for each of these. Let's go back up here. We're going to put this into 8.3. It puts us at a 16.6 total. That's really opened a lot of things up. Now our Arknor and our BISDOT are now less than 30 days. That makes nullsec mining to maintain even at this level, even if you're just in the barge level, really, really nice. And like just for like kind of scope, Veldspar would still be at 90 days in a coveter. Now, obviously, like if you're boosted, so if that coveter is actually boosted with like a porpoise or an orca, and you look at that cubic meters per second again and update this, and you'd see much different numbers, right? Every time that yield goes up, or your time goes up, or the higher value ore goes up, your time goes down. All right, so we're gonna start moving into. We're gonna start looking at the exhumers now. So we'll start with the skiff here. I don't really want to do modulated because everybody knows that it's going to be, pretty decent on that stuff. But since we've been kind of looking at like just strip ones, we'll kind of keep looking at that. And also, we're going to go full yield on this guy too, just to illustrate our points a little bit better. So 6.2 on the skiff. You see that's about the same as procure. So we're going back a little bit on that one. We're going to go a little bit better, though. We already know what 6.2 does. That's, 2xing the venture. Look at the Mackinac, like all of these. You see all of these, I have like, modulated strips. I generally don't use strip ones on the exhumers because by this point you have those reprocessing skills. But we'll throw strip miners on this one, put some yield on it, and look at the values. But then we'll start looking at the values for those strips as well, or the modulated strips. 6.9 on this one. So yeah, we're not really breaking the bank with those, right? We really want to start getting to double digits on those guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and reset this back to modulated, and then these are type B2s we're gonna put in here, and then our per strip is 10.3, which is really good. As if you can get up to like where you're double digits, that's gonna really start to like shine. So skip with modulated type B2s, you're gonna be looking at 20.6 over here, and 5 hours a day still, omega still being the goal. If you're going down, let's go, like, how far down can we go? Jaspit, 27 days. Calixium, 27 days. Arknor and BISDOT, which is everywhere. BISDOT, we've been looking at 20 days down at that point. And then, like, Veldspar would be down here, still like 73 days. Now, let's go to the very top. We're going to go to the very top. We're going to look at the Max Yield Hulk right here. And this is kind of like where you want to be. Like, this is going to represent unboosted values here. So if you get boosted by any sort of ship, then you're going to be doing even better. So 13.2 with Type B2s on the Hulk here. So we want to be looking at, and this is another thing to realize too, is this is not even a max trained mining alt. We'll end this video by looking at my main, looking at these same fits and like seeing what the max yield actually does and how it changes. This is like a middle of the road kind of miner, like one that's still kind of training in some of the basic mining skills. So 13.2, let's go back up there. It's getting a little bit better. That puts it at 26.4. I usually like to try to go all the way down this list to the very last one that's like sub 30 days. Glacial mass, that's like, you know, high sec gas, right? Or high sec or white glaze. Like when you start getting into like the null sec, you're gonna see like pristine white glaze. Like our smooth glacial mass, it's like null sec ice and stuff like that. You can start to see like you can start just doing ice mining to get it in less than 30 days as well. Go back up to our trusty BizDot, 16 days actually, and I'll unboosted Hulk with not even max skills. Very, very good. Very good on that one. So we're going to go ahead and load up a tune that is completely maxed out. My main has every single mining skill that you could possibly want. And we'll kind of look at that same Hulk fit that we just looked at on that tune, because I can already tell you right now the total yield for that guy is going to be 50, probably around 50 cubic meters a second total, and that's where it's really going to start to shine. Like if your goal, once you actually get to Omega and you want to continue to pay for it through mining, your biggest thing to do is just to get those skills out and high and get that, you know, those exumer skills to 5 and things like that. So we're going to go right back to this guy. I really need to like change this fit to where it actually has these crystals saved in here, but look at there. 25.1 on this max train. No implants. Implants would even be higher than this, unboosted. 25.1. We're going to go and put that in here. That's per head. 50.2. And that's still with a goal for Omega. Let ESI kind of populate all this real quick. And you start to look at things like Spud Main, even unboosted, you know, 3 days for 5 hours if you're doing it. Or down here, where was our BizDot at? Right here. BizDot would be 8.5 days. But here's the thing too, is like as your yield goes up, then your time can go down. Let's say we only want to go like an hour of mining a day. But we have an exumer now, and we have access to a lot more systems and stuff. So even BizDot, you know, becomes, with an unboosted Hulk, becomes a 42-day kind of trek. But you'd probably be like going after Yttrium or something like border sites that give you 16 days. Dark Ochre or any of the Poshman stuff is going to be like sub 20 days with this ship. So, you know, really, really nice on all that. And I guess one other thing we haven't really looked at either is, let's go back to these fits here, and we'll even just go back on a max, you know, let's just say you're maxed out with all your skills for mining, and you're just, you know, want to be super cheap on the stuff, and you're just going to use a Procure. We already looked at Procure before, but on like a moderately skilled tune. 7.4 on this max skilled tune here. 7.4. And Procure is super cheap too. Yeah, it's 14.8. So as you can see, you can start to just kind of like mess with time. You can you know, either, you know, add more time mining or get better yield, or both. Go up in higher value ore. But like having access to a tool like this, or putting something together for yourself like this, can really kind of help you stay on task here. Obviously an hour a day, even with just one ship unboosted, is going to be rough. Really, really rough. So you just kind of have to have like that perspective and everything. But just for fun, let's go to frigates here. And go to a, see, like my alpha, max alpha is like 3.1 cubic meters. And like this max skilled, going back to the same kind of fit, is 3.9. But what we're going to do is we're going to take that off. We're going to go and add the upgrade to it. Mining laser upgrade. We'll probably take out that extender. There you go. So 4.3 max skilled, same venture. What was that, 4.3? Yeah. 6.8 hour a day. You're still looking at, you know, considerable amount of time doing high sec ore and stuff like that. If you're, so for me, if I was going to do like an alpha tune, let's kind of reset these numbers a little bit to my alpha tune stuff. If I was going to do Alpha Tune, and my goal was Omega, and I was in high sec. 1,200 days for Veldspar, or 1,000 days plus for Plag, and like 920 for Pyro is rough. Damn, Squirtite is only like Squirtite's a little bit better these days. But and these numbers are coming from Jita buy orders actually. So the idea is that you're gonna be selling this stuff immediate to the maximum buy order. That's where these numbers are coming from. So in this kind of perspective, if you're alpha and you're only mining 1 hour a day and your goal is Omega, you're going to be in for the long haul. 1,200 days, averaging about, probably like 800 days or so. But when I did solo mining 1, I was doing like 10 hours a day mining high sec ore. So that definitely was rough. It was, if you're doing just straight Veldspar, it's still 121 days or so. But you can start to do some better stuff than that. Like Arknor, right? Or even Omber can get you in 37 days. We did a lot of Kernite back then. I think it, just for the first solo mining series, we actually ended up doing like 47 days or something. We weren't exactly 10 hours every single day. We would be like 10 to 12. But as you can tell, it took us like 47 days to, do it the first time. But I think if I was going to do that again, then I would be just trying to like put in as many hours as possible, but also probably try to vary up what I was mining as well. But hopefully this video is kind of giving you some ideas about, how time, how yield, how the type of ore that you mine can really affect how you're doing on stuff. But also, let me kind of, just for the people who are watching this video who are alpha and who want to earn that first month of Omega, you shouldn't be going after Omega for the first thing, right? You should be going after the expert system that allows you to get into a procure and 2x that yield, right? So we're going to go in here and we're actually going to put in 100, actually it's probably like 90 million for that expert system, right? So let's say like, you have that Alpha Tune I have, 3.1, 6.2 total, hour a day. Your goal is to get to 90 million so you can actually grab that expert system. And you're going to go down this list. You're going to be looking. So Veldspar, you could get that expert system in 35 days. But we could do better than that. You could take that guy out and do something a little bit better than that. Even like going out to nullsec. Going out to nullsec and just mining Bistot or Arknor, 10 days. Now, what's crazy is the expert system lasts 7 days once you get it. So the idea is you need to have it in your head that once you get the expert system the first time and you're able to get in that procure, to be able to get it again plus some extra ISK within 7 days. So I would 100% be in like nullsec if I was going to do that challenge again. So I'd be doing Arknor Bistot, and in like 10 or 11 days, I'd get that expert system. Once I got that expert system, my goal would remain the same. I'd be going after that expert system again. I would still keep the hour a day. But since I'd be in the procure, we already saw the procure is 6.2 for that tune, or would be for that tune. So we'd be going up to 12.4. And so we would just continue to do Arknor Bistot with that new procure as an alpha, and we'd be doing, we'd be able to get that expert system again in 5 days. We still have 2 days actually left over net to be able to grab that. Anything that we would be getting in value from Arknor Bistot over the value of that expert system would go straight to the Omega bank. And you'd be wanting to like, have everything that you could possibly get. Once you turn over onto Omega, you want to be able to like have the ships you need to kind of keep it going and stuff. From that moment, let's say we were done like doing the expert system stuff, and if you just like started just setting your goal back to Omega, then you have to kind of like be a little bit more diligent about it. You probably need to be like looking after boost. This yield is going to go up with like implants or just getting better mining skills and stuff. But you should really just try to like get the double digit yields, like 10, anything like 10 or above, and just going after some nullsec stuff and everything. But it's not impossible. It's a grind. That's why I like to consider it like a bootstrap challenge to kind of do it. There's multiple stages. I never just say, hey, go mine until you get Omega and then, attempt to like maintain it. The first Omega is always going to be more than 30 days. But just always worry about getting that yield higher and just mining longer. Even 20 cubic meters a second at 5 hours a day, it means that you could go to nullsec and just do Arcanor Bistot and maintain Omega with that. And you'd probably get even extra ISK by killing like NPC rats or doing absolutely anything else. But hope you guys enjoyed this video. I figured I was kind of messing around with this today. I know it's a lot of questions about how long it takes depending, but I figured I'd kind of make this spreadsheet and just kind of, a little bit of a science project and all of that. But thank you for watching.